Devina, every few years we have this thing going up that this is finally India's decade. Do you think this is one more of those, or is this the real thing?
Actually, there are two parts to this. Yes, you're right that 2003 to 2007, for example, when India went up 6 times at a time that US could not come out of its post-tech crash lows, and the whole emerging market index went up 3.5 times. We heard this, that this is the decade, century, what have you, of India, China, BRICS. So the stories follow what is happening in the market. So this time, if you go back a year or a little before that, when I was asked that would India outperform in 2022, I had said yes, clearly it would. And the reason for that was very simple, that it had underperformed for a very, very long time, both relative to global markets and relative to its own history. So if you go from 2010 to 20, that whole decade, India compounded only 8 and odd % at a time when fixed deposit rates were 8%, at least for part of the time, as against that long term, since Sensex started and the figure in our mind of compounding 15, 16%, we had compounded only 8.5. So you were coming out of that trough. You were very far below the trend line when that 2020 bull market started. That is one. If you look at relative to the globe, again, most of that decade, out of 42 country indices that are generally tracked, we were 21 one year, 24 another year, 25 another year, basically in the underperforming bucket. So last year when that thing changed and you came into the outperforming bucket, last year in 2021, India was number 13 out of 42, but that proved to be lucky. This year we were number 10. We were still down in dollar terms, almost 5%, but that's against a global market which were down 18 and odd %. S&P about, again, down 18 and odd %, NASDAQ down a lot more, among the worst performing markets in the world. So once that kind of trend change comes, it continues. So India likely to be an outperformer. We can make whatever story out of it that we want. And the risk of the crash is, again, less when you are not even at the trend line. So those would be my comments on India. The narrative, always you can make it as fun as you want, especially in the media.
No, man. The person who makes it the most fun is Ridham. His reports are unambiguously the most bullish about India. So Ridham, I must ask you, is this hype or is this the real thing?
No, it is the real thing, Udayan. So first of all, let's get the facts right. Okay, over 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years, India has been the second fastest growing economy in the world. Over 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years, and I don't like 1-year time frames because equity market should not be done for 1-year time frames. So I prefer these 5-year blocks. India has been amongst the best performing stock markets in the world. It is joined by only 2 other markets, and it's been top 5 for each of these time frames, Denmark and US. In US dollar terms, on a 25-year time frame, India has beaten the US stock market by 40 basis points in compounded dollar returns. So this has been a stellar stock market. Yes, of course, there have been periods when the market has not done well, specifically the period that Devina referred to, which was, I think, somewhere between 2011 and 2015, which was a tough period because inflation was high and we had to take a lot of measures and our macro balance sheet was not looking good. But things have changed dramatically in the last 7-8 years. India's macro stability is the best that it has been in my memory and my 30 years in the stock market. India's growth is finally, approaching potential. And the most incredible thing that's happening here is that the gap with the world is widening. So the world is looking quite murky. And therefore, on a relative basis, I think, most people will, whether it's a corporation trying to invest for profits and revenues or whether it's investors, India is going to be a favored destination. So, yeah, to answer your question, is this India's decade? I mean, we wrote a report in November, which is titled, Why This is India's Decade? So there you have the answer.